Hey guys, what's growing? It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Today is cottage garden clean out day and prep for the season. So the cottage garden, which is in my side yard here, is intended, and it's not always this way, to be kind of a display garden. I do workshops in our side yard here, so people can cut flowers from the front garden as well as the cottage garden to use in their displays, in their arrangements. And it's also designed to be something pretty to look at while we're out here working on flower arrangements or whatever we're doing in their workshop. However, when I first started this bed, I was a total novice at planning a garden bed. And so it is pretty in the springtime. There are lots of things to see in the springtime. There are hyacinths and snowdrops and daffodils and tulips and foxglove and, just lots of really pretty things to look at in the spring, all the way through probably May into early June. But then things start to fizzle and we start hitting our triple-digit temperatures, and the ground out there starts baking. It gets hot and solid as a rock, even though it's irrigated. So then it just starts to look awful. And even though I have some drought tolerant plants in there, it's not enough. So my goal this year is to clean out that bed really well. We're in early February right now, so the daffodils are just starting to come up, which is good. That's one of the reasons I wanted to wait, because I wanted to see where they were before I started pulling things out and laying down compost. Clean out a bunch of stuff, especially some of the perennial plants that I have in there that are not long-lived perennials. So I want to pull those out in preparation to put in new perennials, so that things like anise hyssop and nepeta and rudbeckia and coreopsis and calendula and stuff that will flower in the hot months and can withstand heat. Orangium, other things that can handle our hot temperatures. That cottage garden bed gets sun for only about 5 hours in the daytime, but it's midday sun. So it just can be when we have our temperatures in the triple digits, it can be just baking there. Also, irrigation is an issue. That whole area used to be just lawn. And then a couple years ago, we cut out that bed, the cottage garden bed, and we'll go over there and look at it in a minute, and planted it. And it's all still irrigated, but it's on pop-up sprinkler irrigation that's intended for lawn. And so what happens is the cottage garden plants block some of that spray, which means that grass in patches doesn't get watered, and also that parts of the bed don't get watered. So I think what we need to do is potentially cap that line. It's all one zone, but cap that line on that side and put drip through there instead. So there'll still be sprinkler heads on the other side that will cover the grass, hopefully. It's all going to come down to pressure though. So I'm going to get a friend to come out and help me, because he knows more about this than I do, because drip usually needs a pressure regulator and pop-up sprinklers usually don't. Now the other option is we could put the pop-up sprinklers that are already there in the cottage garden on taller stalks, because they're behind the plants anyway. It's not like it'll be super noticeable. But that also might mean that the water sprays over the bed and not much in the bed actually gets water. So got to do some troubleshooting and figure this out. But what I'm going to be doing today is starting the clean out, and there's a lot. Like I said, I always generally wait until late winter, early spring to start cleaning up my beds, because the birds and there's also a bunch of pollinators that nest down in this stuff in the wintertime. So I don't want to disturb them, but I want to start doing some cleanup, some pulling out, and then I'm going to add a fresh layer of compost. That's the little bit that's left over in the front. That's all going to go out here to feed that soil. And then when the time is right, I will plant some of the seedlings that I've got growing in the greenhouse that are perennials that'll go here in the cottage garden. You know, we'll have, hopefully, the goal is to have a succession of flowers, spring, summer, and fall. I probably will put a few sunflowers along the back row there for fun. Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit of more of a focus this year. One more thing that's going to be a focus this year, and a project, and it could end up being a big project, is this bed right over here. This bed that was already set with the house is a mess. First of all, that's heavenly bamboo, which I really hate. This is an invasive here, but it's used as a landscape plant all the time. The berries that it produces are toxic to animals and birds especially. And so they need to come out. I can't stand them. What's sad is this is a absolutely gorgeous Japanese maple. See if I can find a picture of it in full leaf so you can see how gorgeous it is. But it is way too big a plant for this spot. And you can see the patio basically buries all of its roots. So there is no real way we can dig this guy up and save it and repot it. So it's gonna have to come out. We do have plenty of other Japanese maples on our property, but we have to trim it back so hard every year because it's hard to get out the glass sliding door, and then it blocks the view from inside the house as well, and same with these guys. So one of our projects this spring is gonna be to pull out everything in this bed, and we're gonna have to be careful because there's irrigation in there, including that terrible shrub right there too. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's just wrong plants, wrong place. Pull all of that out and replant it with things that make a whole lot more sense there. So I'm still doing some research to figure out what I want to do with that, but that is a big project that you will see soon here on the channel. And now for the cottage garden. You can see it is noon right now. It is noon, now it's February, but this part of the cottage garden is still in shade. So we have lots of things in here. We have lupins and lots of foxglove and, like I said, daffodils and Russian sage, different salvias and stuff like that. But all of this needs to get cleaned up, like this old dusty miller that's just, you know, obviously dead. That needs to get pulled up. You know, there's some feverfew there from last year. We've got a lot of succulents on the border here. Just massive cleanup needs to happen. All this Gara needs to be cut back to the ground. Germander in here, just a whole bunch of stuff. But you can see how messy it is. Now, all of the tiny little seedlings that you see down here, most of those are actually foxglove. So I planted maybe 6 foxglove in here 4 years ago when we started this, and foxglove self-sows very readily. So those are all foxglove babies. That's not a bad thing because they are biennials. So they will put vegetative growth on the first year. Then the second year, they actually send up flower spikes and flower. So I can dig up patches of this foxglove seed, and an individual flower, foxglove flower, has thousands of seeds in it. So then you have, you know, 50 or 60 flowers on one plant, and then you get billions of seeds, basically. So I can dig up those little patches of foxglove plants and propagate them and then replant, or I can just leave them. So lots and lots and lots of cleanup. All this Gara needs to be cut back. It's got frost damage because I didn't cut it back in the fall. It'll be totally fine. This dusty miller, it amazes me. I grew this from seed a couple years ago, and it just still looking great, even through the frost. Yeah, so major cleanup through here. Lots of cutting back, and you know, we've got lots of ground cover, which is good, but I might cover a lot of that with fresh compost as a mulch, and not a lot, just like an inch. I've got irises starting to come up in here, so there just needs to be a lot of control. Now this area back here, I have tried multiple times to grow hollyhocks as a screen. These all leaf out, all these trees leaf out, so they act as privacy, but I want tall things in the back. The hollyhocks have never worked. However, the salvia that was in a pot, and I just replanted it here, it is starting to fill in. but I do want some taller things in the back. I might even put a couple of like citrus trees back here. I don't know, we'll see. But all of this is kind of barren. This would be a good area for calendula, coreopsis, rudbeckia, because they will spread and take over and die back a little bit in the wintertime to allow the bulbs, the spring bulbs, to come up. That's going to be my job this afternoon. So I'm going to get to it. Hopefully I can get it all done this afternoon. If not, it'll just bleed over into tomorrow. But it's going to be a good time to get started. The nice thing is, because we've had so much rain, the soil is nice and soft, so I shouldn't have to struggle too much to get things that need to come out. So let's get started. Oh my God, you guys, what a difference. What a difference. That's just crazy. I mean, I haven't even put the compost down yet, and I know it looks very barren, but this leaves me with a lot of options for things to put in, and it opens up the space for all of the tulips and muscari and iris and everything that are coming up now. I trimmed out some of the Dusty Miller, not tremendously so, but enough to like cut stuff back so that new stuff can grow. I cut back all of the salvia, but you can see where all the bulbs are coming up now. I cut back the Gara and the germander, and all of our ground cover here is looking really nice. So I have lots of openings now, not only for fresh compost, but for new plants. And I'm really excited about that. This will be a nice refresh. And of course, along the back row is where I really want the space, and I've got it now. That will be for tall things like Rudbeckia, Echinacea, some sunflowers probably. And you know, all of these, I don't know how many of these foxglove are gonna bloom this year. It's kind of hard to tell, but we'll see. But man, that looks so much better. So I'm so excited to have that done. That feels really good. It was fun doing it. It's always fun to clear out stuff like that. I still have a corner bed in the back that I need to do, and a couple of containers, and then the whole front walk needs to be done. But I'm not in a big rush for that. But I'm also going to be planting some new stuff up there this season too. So yeah, it helps if once I get stuff cleared out, helps me to get an idea of what I can actually put in there. Because sometimes, you know, like you have ideas, but until you see the space and it's open and clear, you don't know what you want to do. So that's great. That feels like such an accomplishment. The rest of this week is supposed to be nice and dry. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do click the subscribe button and maybe put a like on this video if you liked this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.